Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Gorok. So Gorok's start position is Itza, the same start location he had in Total War Warhammer 2, and his starting enemy are the Pallid Nurzlings, which is a minor Nurgle faction. Now this is a really interesting enemy to begin with, because this is without a doubt the weakest early game enemy that any Legendary Lord has to deal with, at least on turn 1, because once you've taken out this army, due to the way that Nurgle works, they actually don't recruit another army for several turns, because the AI factions will not recruit new lords if they are unable to recruit new units, because these guys here, their recruitment capacity is actually at 0. They don't have any available units, and so they need that cycle to continue in order to even get a single Nurgling, and so they'll just sit there inactive for several turns. But because of the distance between their settlements, right, and the sort of direction that you're going to begin with, Gorok actually has a trick start in fighting them. You shouldn't prioritize dealing with them because they're not really a threat. Instead, what you want to prioritize is Clan Pestilence, because Clan Pestilence is the opposite. They start off seriously weaker than you, but by turn 4 will have more than a full stack. They can significantly out-recruit you, and while most of their units are going to be trash, you have an opportunity to kick them in the balls so hard in the early game that if you do exactly as the campaign here is laid out for you, you'll miss out on. So this is what you do. On turn 1, attach Kroak into Gorok's army, and then attack this army here and defeat it. Then put a single point into Route Marcher over here, and you should be able to just regular march back to Itza and recruit 2 units of regular Saurus warriors. Then also on this turn, recruit a new lord, preferably a Kroxigor, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then hit end turn. On turn 2, you want to take that secondary army and besiege Quetzar. So not with Gorok. If you do it with Gorok, you'll miss out on this opportunity. Then you bring Gorok down here to reinforce in that battle. Fight it. Should be fairly easy, right? And just ignore Zodal. It's not important. They're not going to recruit a new army, right? Then once you've captured the settlement, what you want to do with Gorok is move him beyond Quetzar to about here. Use up all of his movement and have him continue to recruit. Because you want to be standing here, not sitting inside of Quetzar, because if you're sitting inside of Quetzar, you won't be able to hit Oixel on turn 3. But if you're standing right there, then you can, provided of course you put the extra campaign movement range in. Then on turn 3, with a relatively small force, go down and besiege Oixel, and you'll find that Skrulk is in there with basically just his starting army, and you will have prevented him from being able to recruit. Now if you take out Oixel on that turn, that is the end of Clan Pestilence, essentially. They do have another settlement over here, but they will never be able to recover. Now, the thing is, if you use a Kroxigor Lord and your starting army, having recruited 4 units of Saurus, that battle is actually ridiculously easy, because you've got a lot of power here at your disposal. I mean, you've got Lord Kroak. You can send in Gorok in by himself, have the enemy clump up around you, and just bomb them like crazy with Kroak's abilities. Gorok can easily hunt down Skrulk and duel him, and then of course you've got the Kroxigor that's able to help, and of course Saurus warriors are just so easy to smash up clan rats with, so it's actually very easy if you do it this way. But if you're thinking, oh, just go to Zodal first and then switch back around this way, you'll get there at around turn 4 and 5, and the difference between getting here on turn 3 and turn 4 is that on turn 4 Skrulk will have recruited more than a full stack. That's how quick he's able to recruit, so hitting him on turn 3 basically leads to a really quite an easy campaign from then on. So it's got a bit of a trick start. It's entirely up to you if you want to make use of that. But yeah, you can. It's the difference between having quite a challenging start, because Clan Pestilence could just spam out units so quickly, and having quite an easy start. Anyway, let's now look at Gorok and what he's able to bring to the table. So Gorok is an amazing melee fighter. He's a pretty good commander, but he doesn't really have any major benefits for the faction as a whole. His trait is called Protector of Itza, which provides unit mass plus 15% for Lord's army. Now, unit mass is especially useful for monstrous units, which is not really his preferred unit type, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have that for infantry as well. Missile resistance plus 10% for Lord's army as well. Now, looking at his unique line over here, Honored Elder is not a unique skill, because any generic Saurus Old Blood has that, and the Saurus Scar veterans, but the global bonus to Public Order is definitely useful. So over here, we've got Unrelenting Assault, providing physical resistance, plus 5%, plus Perfect Vigor. Now, he has 15% physical resistance by default anyway, so you can get him absolutely tons of physical resistance. Then you got Impassable Defenses for more melee defense, spell resistance, Protector of Lustria for physical resistance for Saurus units, and melee defense for Saurus and Temple Guard. Now, When choosing between Saurus and Temple Guard, my personal preference is actually Saurus Warriors, because Saurus Warriors only take 1 turn to recruit locally and 2 turns to recruit globally, but you can get that down to 1 turn very quickly. And because melee infantry have a habit of taking a lot of casualties in battle, you want to be able to replace them quickly. And Temple Guard, the main reason why I don't like them as much is that their stats are not really that much different from Saurus units. And they take 2 turns to recruit, which I just don't think is justified, which also means it takes 4 turns to recruit them globally. So you want to have a bit more of a replaceable army, in my opinion. Plus, you'll miss out on that physical resistance. Then you've got Unflinching over here, which replaces To the Death, which only activates when his hit points are less than 50%, which once you've got the Great White Lizard, that will come into effect a lot less frequently. Then you've got a Mighty Opponent over here, which provides extra melee attack and causes terror, and then the Great White Lizard increases his battle healing cap by 100% and gives him the passive ability Regeneration. Now, the way the battle healing cap works is that you take what his current battle healing cap is, which for every legendary lord, every character in the game, it's always their 75% of their maximum health, right? And then if you're going to double that, it then turns it into 150% of their maximum health. So that gives Gorok a hell of a lot of durability throughout a fight. So he's just able to kill hundreds of units, if not that, loads of single entities. So that makes him just a really powerful single entity fighter. Then if we have a look at what his faction provides, we've got the Rite of Resilience, which if we have a look at that, the barrier hit points plus 1,000 for Saurus and Temple Guard, that's really good. It's basically just an extra 1,000 hit points, which can regenerate, but as their hit points go down, obviously you reduce their maximum barrier as well. Attribute immune to contact effects for Saurus and Temple Guard, good, so they won't be affected by poison. And then expert charge defense for Saurus and Temple Guard. I personally think that the barrier hit points is the main benefit from that. And you can do it fairly often as soon as you hit to rank 5. You've also got starts with Lord Kroak at the start of your campaign, which is one of the main reasons why you're able to launch a really early attack on Oixal, because Lord Kroak is just able to wipe out hundreds of clan rats with absolute ease using his magic, even on low rank. And then you've got barrier hit points plus 500 for all units when defending settlements, and defensive supplies plus 500. So really a faction that really benefits from defensive situations, but sieges are not really the most fun aspect of this. So I don't think that his faction trait is overly powerful, especially when comparing it to something like Tehenowin's, where he's able to provide significantly more benefits for his entire faction. Overall, though, I think that Gorok has got an interesting start position. I think it's a pretty fun campaign. I've enjoyed my time playing as Gorok. I do enjoy playing as Lizardman, but I don't think it is the most fun out of the Lizardman. In terms of the difficulty that I think is optimal to play on, I'd say probably hard or very hard is probably where you're going to get the most amount of enjoyment, but really it does come down to you as a player to make that personal choice for yourself. This is a campaign that can be played on any difficulty. I just think playing it on easy difficulty, you sort of miss the point of this campaign, where Gorok is a very strong character, and you kind of want to be going up against a lot of enemies, and on lower difficulties, the enemies, they don't come at you. So you want to enable your opponents to have some sort of force, or else you're going to get bored really quickly, unless, of course, you just like auto-resolving through your campaign. Entirely up to you. Anyway, overall, I do enjoy this campaign, but it's not my favorite Lizard campaign. Anyway, that's the end of this one here, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Gorok, whether you like or dislike my starting strategy here. I think it's quite useful, but try it out for yourself and let me know what you think. And let me know in the comments what you think of Gorok's campaign as well. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.